everyone. We're more than halfway through 2025 and a lot is happening around the world. Today's focus will be on the job market. So, let's be honest. The job market in 2025 is a mess. If you've been sending out resumes, sitting through endless interviews, or even just browsing job boards, you already know how discouraging it feels. Something is off. Something is broken. If you've been applying for jobs, sending out resumes, or interviewing nonstop with no results, you already know how frustrating it feels. And you're not imagining it. Things really have changed. Today I want to unpack why so many people are struggling, what's really happening behind the scenes, and what you can do to keep your head up and move forward. Let's start with the most obvious thing people notice right now: competition. In the past, when a company posted an opening, maybe a few dozen people applied. Today, it's not unusual for a single posting to get 500, 1,000, sometimes even more than that. Why? Because applying has never been easier. With LinkedIn's Easy Apply button and job boards that let you submit applications in seconds, people send out dozens of resumes in one sitting. Multiply that across millions of job seekers and suddenly every posting is flooded. That sheer volume creates a new problem. Most applications don't even reach a human being. Companies use applicant tracking systems, or ATS software, to scan resumes for keywords. If your resume doesn't match closely enough, the algorithm quietly rejects you before a recruiter ever sees your name. So when you hear people say, "I've applied to 100 jobs and never heard anything back," it's often not about being unqualified. It's about being filtered out by software. Even when you do get through the filter, the process itself feels broken. Candidates are experiencing ghosting like never before. People go through 3, 4, sometimes 5 interviews, investing hours of preparation and energy, only to be met with silence. No feedback, no rejection, just nothing. Companies don't feel pressure to follow up because there are so many applicants in the pipeline. But for the person on the other end, the person who rearranged their schedule, researched the company, and sat nervously waiting, that silence is crushing. And then there's another piece of the puzzle that doesn't get talked about enough: fake job postings. In 2025, this problem has exploded. Companies put out listings they never intend to fill. Sometimes it's just to make themselves look like they're growing. Other times, it's to collect resumes so they have a pool of candidates on file. And in some cases, the role has already been promised to an internal candidate, but HR policies require them to post it publicly. So you end up spending hours applying for a job that never really existed. That's not just discouraging, it's dishonest. And it's one of the reasons so many people feel like the system is wasting their time. Meanwhile, wages haven't kept up with reality. Even when you finally get an offer, the numbers often don't match the rising cost of living. Rent, groceries, gas, healthcare. Everything is more expensive. But companies are still posting salaries that were competitive 3 or 4 years ago. And when you try to negotiate, you're told there are hundreds of other candidates who would happily take the offer as is. That imbalance of power makes people feel disposable, like they don't have a real voice in the process. Remote work is another sore spot. A few years ago, remote opportunities opened the door for millions of people. But in 2025, companies are pushing harder than ever to bring workers back to the office. Hybrid is becoming the default, and fully remote roles are shrinking. For people who relocated, who built their lives around working from home, that shift is a huge blow. And for those still looking, the limited number of remote jobs means competition is even fiercer for the ones that remain. Layer automation and AI on top of all this, and you've got a storm. Roles that once provided steady employment are being automated or offshored. Companies expect one person to wear multiple hats, doing the work of 2 or 3 employees for the salary of one. Job descriptions ask for 10 different skill sets, blending roles that used to be separate careers. For job seekers, it feels like no matter what you bring to the table, it's never enough. All of these factors together create the sense that the job market is broken. You send applications into a black hole. You get ghosted after interviews. You waste time on postings that may not even be real. And even if you land a job, you might end up underpaid or stuck in a role that demands way more than it offers. So the big question is, what do you do about it? First, don't play the numbers game blindly. It's tempting to think, if I just apply to 200 jobs, something has to hit. But that approach burns you out and doesn't actually increase your odds. Instead, apply smarter. Take the time to tailor your resume and cover letter to the role. Use the same keywords that appear in the job description so the ATS system is more likely to push you through. 10 well-targeted applications are worth more than 100 generic ones. Second, lean on your network. I know networking has a bad reputation, but it doesn't have to be fake or awkward. It simply means making genuine connections. Comment on industry posts. Share your insights. Reach out to people who work in companies you're interested in. Not to beg for a job, but to ask questions and build relationships. Over 70% of jobs are filled through referrals. When a hiring manager gets a resume from someone they trust, that resume jumps straight to the top of the pile. Third, keep building your skills. Yes, AI is taking over parts of the job market, but it's also creating new opportunities. If you can show that you know how to use AI tools, analyze data, or manage cloud platforms, you immediately stand out. Learning doesn't always mean a new degree. It can be a certification, an online course, or even self-study. The key is showing you can adapt to where the world is going, not just where it's been. And finally, don't take the rejections personally. This one is tough, because it does feel personal. You pour time and energy into applications and interviews, and when you hear nothing, it feels like a reflection of your value. But it's not. The system is flawed, not you. You could be the perfect fit and still get lost in the shuffle because of algorithms, timing, or internal politics. The rejection isn't always about you. It's about the broken process. So here's the message I want to leave you with. The job market in 2025 is challenging, maybe more than it's ever been. But giving up is not an option. Keep applying, but do it smartly. Keep networking because connections matter more than ever. Keep learning because every new skill you add is another door that opens. And most importantly, keep showing up because the only way to guarantee you don't get the job you want is to stop trying. Your yes is out there. It might take longer to find. It might come from an unexpected direction, but it exists. Stay patient, stay sharp, and keep going. Because the job market may be broken, but your determination doesn't have to